Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Glad to be here. TGIF on this Friday. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor alongside you. Glad to be alongside you. The IHOP hotline is open, brought to you by IHOP. You can try the 2x2x2, 2 eggs your way, 2 bacon strips or pork sausage links, and 2 buttermilk pancakes for just $7 over at IHOP. That hotline will be open for you all day long here on KFH. Get your cell phone ready because we'll have 2 text-to-win contests. One for some HTO, iced tea and coffee. One for some Kenny Chesney tickets, Kenny Chesney's Zach Brown Band, going up to Arrowhead Stadium. So we'll have those opportunities as well. All kinds of good stuff, fun stuff for you today. We get contract details for Jerome Tang, that extension we knew was coming. I sort of forgot about it. We get some of the details on that. So we can have that. We can talk a little bit about the J.J. Redick hiring. Interesting for the Lakers. We can talk about the Royals, of course. We get a win yesterday. A little bit of sweat there, but the Stars showed up yesterday, plus maybe an unlikely star, and they get that one done, and then they get back on the road and continue this long road trip here later tonight. We have all of these things on slate and whatever you want to talk about. Thanks for listening to us, by the way, on KFH, for streaming us at kfhradio.com or the Odyssey app. If you don't have the Odyssey app, it's a really great tool. Just download it. You get access not only to us, but all the great, Odyssey stations across the country you can listen to as well. You can even, Tommy, if you use a smart speaker, just say, hey, play KFH, and it'll play us right here for you. Our video stream is up and available for you. Facebook, YouTube, X. We already have some chatter there on the video stream. Royals fan Ken, on our conversation yesterday, says, hey, Garcia didn't lead off yesterday. It's funny, Ken. Garcia didn't play yesterday.
Yeah,
he pinch hit late in the game.
Joke.
But, yeah. Well, it caught us off guard. A colleague TJ was like, hey, you got your wish. Garcia's not leading off. And I'm like, no way. And then I was like, well, hang on a minute here. I don't think we got our wish. I think he just had the day off. So we'll see what happens tonight, but I'll bet you he'll be right back in that leadoff spot. But the Royals get the win. We'll get into all of that today. Tommy, how are you? Good morning.
Man, I'm good. I'm thinking about you this weekend. It's going to be a tough one for you. You got the Royals and the Rangers. What are you going to do?
I won't be disappointed in the way. I don't know what to do at the current moment with the Rangers right now because I'd like for them to get healthy. I certainly don't want the Royals to fall out of it. I mean, no sweeps either way maybe makes me happy. I don't know. I thought about that yesterday a little bit. Like, of course, I'm a Rangers fan, but I really want the Royals to do this year. So I'll just observe it. I think as much as anything, just, quietly observe it. And then after Sunday can go back to just rooting for both of them again, as is normal business. But yeah, no, it'll be a little strange. They play all the time. They're connected and surprised. They both play in the same place. There's always been a little bit of a connection between the Rangers and the Royals. Of course, they had the big trade last year that helped the Rangers win a World Series last year, and has been a big reason why the Royals are in contention this year. So it's been an interesting pairing of those two franchises for a long time. But yeah, it'll be a little odd. And look, they got to be careful here. They've used their 2 big pitchers in the last series, and now you got to run out there against a lineup that has struggled lately, but still has some big bats that could wake up at any moment. It's the Rangers just aren't playing well. They're just not. So we'll see how the Royals are able to handle that and see if they can build up some momentum. But we'll get into the Royals in a little bit, Tommy. I think this Tang stuff is the most interesting. I had honestly, I forgot all about this. I think I saw Kellis Robinette yesterday from the Kansas City Star put it out there first, and I can't get you all the details from his article because I'm paywalled, just quite frankly. So bear with me on that. But there are some other places that have some of those details.
We'll get you a login.
Yeah, look,
that
it
way
is what
you
it
can
is.
read what's going on.
I
feel like if anybody should get that information, you should be able to.
I don't have a login. I don't have a login to Netflix. I don't have a login to, a lot of things, but it is what it is. It's I'm a little old school. You don't have to You don't have to pay for KFH or KWCH, the two places I work, Tommy. So I don't feel bad about that. It's part of the business. It is what it is, but not part of my business typically. But we get the Jerome Tang details, and I legitimately, I hadn't thought about this until he turned down Arkansas and we just heard it was going to happen. I forgot that we hadn't heard. It's a little strange that it is just sort of, in good faith gone on this long, but it's fine. Jerome Tang gets his raise. It's honestly probably not as much as I thought it would be. I'll just give you my gut reaction to it. It's about $500,000 a year, and then another 100,000 on top of that each successive year. So if it's 500,000 next year, it'd be 600,000 the year after that, 700,000 the year after that, all the way up to 4.1 million in that 2030-31 season. There's a retention bonus up to over the life of it, like $1 million or more if he remains the head coach of the Cats. But his buyouts, Tommy, drop fairly significantly each year on the side of if he were to leave K-State. Now, if they were to let him go, theirs is significant. They're not going to do that, at least not for a while. And the buyout number for them to let him go is pretty substantial, but it's not all that substantial the other direction, but it is. I mean, it's like, what is it, 5 million, I think, to start out with on his end of the buyout.
That's right.
But the interesting thing, and I don't have it in front of me again because I'm paywalled, maybe you can see it, that Kellis had, is that there is a significant piece of this that ties to Gene Taylor as
Correct.
the athletic director. And if Gene Taylor is not the athletic director, it's a lot easier for Jerome Tang basically to get out of that contract. And that is significant. That is, not only is it solidarity in the athletic department, which you love, it, to me, Tom, and this is 100% speculative, so keep this in mind. This is me just trying to read between the lines and be an observer. It feels a little middle fingery to the president there. Like, well, you're not in charge. Like, if you screw this up, you're going to screw it all up. If you did something to Gene Taylor, who's had our back here, like, we're out. We're not going to deal with you. We'll deal with Gene. Gene's our boss. You stay out of this. Like, that's what that feels like to me a little bit. And somebody said that Kleiman has something like that too. We, of course, know their relationship. And so, like, that, I think I couldn't dream up a bigger tip of the cap. Could you imagine, Tommy? I'm trying to relate this to what we do. Could you imagine, you're a full-time employee at Odyssey. So could you imagine going and being like, hey, listen, hey, big boss, and where are we headquartered? Philadelphia. Hey, big boss. Hey, big boss.
Hey, be careful what you're going to say here.
No. I'm trying to relate it to like what this would equate to. You'd be like, hey, I'll sign with you, but if you get rid of Tony Dusing, like, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, nobody would do that. That'd be crazy. Like, how could you do? Because the decision on Gene Taylor could come for 1,000 different reasons. But here we go. Here it is in this contract. And I think it's just like this ultimate tip of the cap to Gene Taylor. And it feels middle fingery to me to the president. Like, forget you, man. Like, we don't care about you. We care about Gene Taylor. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but that is sure the way that feels to me.
Well, first off, maybe we ought to, do something like that to, tie ourselves to Tony Dusing because of how phenomenal he is as a program director here on KFH.
Getting promotions all the time.
Exactly. I like that. But, to your point, that was the first thought that I had when I was reading through this and getting all the details of the contract for Jerome Tang. It seems to me that there's a little bit of a trade-off. As you mentioned, the raise isn't significant, but that's kind of the trade-off. Not as much money, but yet more, I guess, security for him from a buyout perspective, but then also being tied to Gene Taylor. And you mentioned Chris Kleiman. He's got kind of the same thing in his contract. In fact, it's even larger for Chris Kleiman. If Gene Taylor is no longer the athletic director at Kansas State, Kleiman can terminate his contract for only $1 million. The buyout for Jerome Tang goes from $5 million, and then it's cut by 50% if Gene Taylor is no longer the athletic director. So that would be 2.5. But then if that buyout, if it's 2 years from now and the buyout becomes 4 million and then 3 million, 2 million each successive year, the buyout drops 50% if Gene Taylor is no longer the athletic director there. So I think that's notable. You said solidarity. I agree with you. I think the word loyalty is also a big one to use in this situation. It shows with both Jerome Tang and then when Chris Kleiman had this in his contract that they're tied to their athletic director. And I think that that's a fairly unique thing in college athletics. Think about all the different situations.
I don't remember ever seeing it.
Think about all the different situations in college athletics where you've got head coaches and athletic directors butting heads and it's a power struggle and they're going after each other. And, maybe you've got a new AD coming in and they want to be the top dog, but the head coach has a lot of power. This shows a significant amount of loyalty and solidarity between the two top programs at the university and their athletic director. And so like you mentioned, I think this is something they have said, we're only doing this because of our athletic director. And if there's a move made with Gene Taylor, then we're probably going to walk and we're going to make it a whole lot easier for us to get out of here.
Yeah. To put it in your contract is fascinating. To do it is not that. I have had bosses that I would be that loyal to at both, here, like in this town right now. To Tony, we're joking, but I'm not. I mean, that's sort of the situation.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I would feel that way, but I like to negotiate that into a contract is just such an interesting ask, even to get it done. But to even ask it is fascinating, and I think that we're right in the way that we feel about Gene Taylor and how great a job he's doing. It's unique too that he hired both of these people. Right. So if you look up the road at Kansas, I think everybody is happy with the way that that's going. Right. And I think you would have that unity. But for a long time, Bill Self has sort of been the athletic department. Right. So it's not like Travis Goff brought in Bill Self. Now, I think Bill Self probably thinks Travis Goff's doing a great job. And you would see that probably from Leipold. But you can't really look around a lot of places in the country. Off the top of my head, I mean, we're going to see if it works at Alabama. I think, and I don't even know who their athletic director is anymore. Hadn't worked at Michigan. Like some of the big time places where you've seen both a football and a men's basketball coach hired, where they've been such home run hires, seemingly. You have to start there and where you can find it. But it is just this sort of unique little storm in Manhattan. But I think it's a great storm if you're a K-State fan, because the other side of it is the fortitude it would take to ask for that sort of thing in a contract, the fortitude for Gene Taylor to run that up the flagpole in the first place.
It was probably a non-negotiable, right? I mean, that's the only way that sort of thing gets done.
Imagine being Gene Taylor and taking that as for the final approval. Like, hey guys, like that is a bold move on all fronts. So so take that side of it, which is really interesting. And the most interesting thing of all of this to me, and we'll get to comparing Tang with his peers on the other side of the break. But so there's that side of it. And then there's the other side of it, which is just that it also makes me feel much more confident that Jerome Tang, like if this season goes really well, then you're Jerome Tang. You certainly have all the confidence in the world in your boss, which matters, right? I'm telling you, it matters. You withstood a really contentious situation last year. You have turned down some big jobs. Baylor aside, I'm not real concerned now, far less so than I would have been a week ago, that Tang has any interest in leaving. Right? Like it may be Baylor or bust, or maybe it's Baylor or Texas or bust, because he's telling you through that he's really happy here. And he's so happy that he's willing to tether himself to a small degree to his boss. Like that's really interesting. Gene Taylor seems like the perfect fit in Manhattan. We wouldn't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. But now we've seen this with Kleiman, and Kleiman's sort of the same way, right? Is it Iowa or bust? Like, is it only Iowa, right? And I think if you're a K-State fan, that should make you a little more comfortable today because now every time something comes open, I mean, we've seen Kleiman now seemingly turn down big jobs. We know Tang has turned down big jobs. Arkansas is a big job. Big job. Obviously, John Calipari just went there. It's a big job. And so I think that makes you feel better if you're a K-State fan today, too, because it's telling you what's happening in that athletic department now. Everybody's really happy with, and everybody wants to be a part of it.
I think a couple of things. First off, if you just look at it at face value, I think at first glance, before I really got into reading the terms of the contract, I'm like, oh, that buyout decreases $1 million every single year, which means it might be more likely that he ends up leaving to go somewhere else. But that's not the point of it. And when you just look at it at face value, you could draw that conclusion. But I'm with you. I actually agree with you on this, that I think it tells you more than anything that he wants to be at K-State. He wants to be there for the long haul. Number two, I'm a massive believer in really effective and competent leadership. And I've tried to study that throughout the course of my career. You know, my day job outside of this show, I manage a team, and I always try to study and learn, and I don't claim to get it right. I'm probably not great. You know, I probably have a lot more to do, over the course of my career in learning and being a better manager and leader. When I read this contract and when we're making inferences based on it, this tells me all I need to know about Gene Taylor and the kind of leader that he is, the kind of man that he is. I don't know him. I've never met him. Sounds like an incredibly effective and competent, compassionate and caring leader for that university and for the athletic department. I don't know Richard Linton. I know what's been written about him. I can't draw any conclusions really because I don't know him for myself other than what I've read. But I think that also what this does, when you say tethered to a small degree to Gene Taylor, I think that that's true. But I also think that it empowers Gene Taylor more. And I think that when you look at this deal, now that Kleiman and Tang have clauses like this built into the contract, it's not only empowering Gene Taylor and Chris Kleiman, Jerome Tang and Chris Kleiman, it's empowering Gene Taylor, to be able to say, like, look, like, he can go to the president and say, not that he would necessarily do this, but this is what I want. And this is what I'm unhappy about, or these are the changes that need to be made. We need more in NIL. We need whatever it is. You could always point back to that contract. Do you want to lose Kleiman and Tang? Like, it empowers everybody to have something like this taken care of in the contracts.
I don't think he would ever play the hand unless he absolutely had to, but
you don't need to. Yeah, you don't.
He has it.
I'm sure the president knows. The president obviously knows that he has it.
And I think the president probably has a pretty good feel now after last season, what boosters and fans and everybody thinks about these sorts of things, and don't screw that up, basically. And again, I agree with you. The leadership would come that you would never hear or know or even assume that would ever be anything. But I have, and I can only relate this to over 20 years now in this space, all the different administrators I've ever met at a university and an athletic department level. There are a lot of times, a lot of egos there, and you just don't see it really out of anybody at K-State. They are so aligned. And we hear Kevin Saul talk about this all the time here, trying to find that alignment and those qualities and those characteristics they're trying to sort of sync up, right? We don't always see that, right? We just had Les Miles and Lawrence. And like, it was sort of all over the place, personalities and thoughts and like styles. You don't have that at
They
K-State.
had an incredibly self-serving athletic director for 2 or 3 years, and Jeff Long, right? Like, those things don't.
You are self-serving head football coach, right?
And when you're judging character and leadership and things like that, actions speak louder than words. And Gene Taylor is not somebody that, as far as I can tell, seeks the limelight. That's not what he's there to
success
lead.
For the university.
100%. And I think that that's something I've always appreciated that about him. I appreciate that to an extent also about Travis Goff. He's a little bit further behind just because he hasn't been there quite as long. But I do appreciate the fact that at least with Gene Taylor, and he's gotten the accolades, being named athletic director of the year and things like that. just based off the way that what his priorities are and the way that he carries himself and represents that university.
It's they've done a nice job. Kansas has too now. Kansas got it in a different way, right? Because you had it in Bill Self, wears the university on his sleeve, does all these things. Now you have it with an athletic director and football coach, and in much the same way. It's just, Self is the different thing there, but it still achieves the same thing. He's always been that way for KU anyway. It's not self-serving at all. Just, wants to win, certainly. But now you have these three coaches, you have total unity almost. Like they all believe in the same sorts of things. They all have the same styles, and they put their money where their mouth is. Literally put their money where their mouth is on this, which is wild to me, and I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's, there could be no greater compliment to Gene Taylor than to have those sorts of clauses put in on multi-million-dollar contracts when all of this is on the line, to say, yeah, that all sounds good, but if you fire him, like, I'm out, basically. So don't do that. And let's put that in writing. And it's just an ultimate power play and tip of the cap. I love that part of it. It's really interesting. And hopefully that synergy stays forever. And hopefully, even though sometimes it's interesting, we don't have to wonder if these coaches are going to leave. When do they get to the Bill Self, Bill Snyder stage, right? Where you just don't even have to consider it anymore. That's what we need. We need them both to get to that point. I don't know what it takes to get there.
I think for Jerome Tang, it'd probably take the Baylor job to come and go eventually someday.
Probably so.
For Chris Kleiman, it'd probably take the Iowa job to come and go.
Yeah. It's cool. All right, so let's stack this up for Tang against his peers. Is this right? Is this about right for Tang? What do we think about the actual numbers of the contract? Where does it rank nationally? Where does it rank in the Big 12? We'll look at all of that when we return. Sports Daily here on KFH. 869-1240 is that IHOP hotline. You can listen to us on your smart speaker. Just say, hey, play KFH to it, and it'll do it. It's really cool. Let's set up our first text giveaway. We'll flip it up. I think we did the other order, so it's our last day for the Kenny Chesney giveaway. You ready for this, everybody? Get that, get your phone handy, because we're going to give you an opportunity to win Kenny Chesney tickets, along with the Zach Brown Band. Here's your chance. Pair tickets live at Arrowhead in Kansas City. Text the word Kenny, Kenny, to the number 20357. One entry per day. So this is your last day to enter this. Message and data rates apply. Winners will be chosen randomly on June 21st at 6:01. The Zach Brown Band opening for Kenny Chesney, July 6th in Kansas City. Text the word Kenny to the number 20357. Good luck, everybody. We'll keep that going here through the first hour. Then we'll do our other giveaway in hour number 2. Don't go away. Sports Daily coming right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Don't miss a minute of the action on the diamond with ESPN Bet. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities, including daily odds boost and home run specials all season long. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. ESPN Bet yesterday, Tommy, I got one. I put together a Lugo. I think I had his strikeouts with a Royals win and more than 2 total bases for Bobby Witt Jr. And it paid like 4.5 to 1. So that's a pretty nice little baseball parlay there for ESPN Bet. As we look at the Royals today, I don't know. It's going to be a little trickier here with this series. It's a long road trip. They're on the third leg of a road trip. They are plus money on the money line going up against Nate Eovaldi. I don't think that I would mess with that if I were a Royals fan. You know, it's one of those things where you can't really put the pitcher stuff together. But if I'm looking at something for Brady Singer gives up a lot of traffic, right? So you can actually go in. I'll pull this up right now. Pitcher total hits allowed, and Singer right now is over 5.5. It's juiced way down to minus 140, Tommy. But that would be probably where I would go. Is that total, total hits allowed going over that 5.5? He allows a lot of traffic, always does. Sometimes he navigates it well, and sometimes he doesn't. But that would be where I was looking today.
Yeah, I think that really with Singer, and you mentioned the amount of traffic that he, typically has on the base paths. That's been something that has been, a part of what he's done all year long. That's nothing new for him. And I think that it just really depends upon what the offense does to counterbalance that, because this is a team, and we talked about this yesterday about how they've been able to sort of come from behind from time to time. But one thing that they haven't been able to do recently is be able to be out in front. They did that yesterday. Really, the offense wasn't incredibly strong, but they did have a lead, and Seth Lugo, pitched a scoreless game until the 7th, but it wasn't like he had a ton of run support, in that game. Brady Singer is somebody that if you're going to allow runners, if you're going to allow traffic, that's going to be really important, I think, in the first 3 or 4, maybe even 5 innings for the Royals offense to be able to give you some run support. So you have a little bit more of a buffer throughout the game, because then what's going to end up happening is that more than likely he's going to give up a couple runs. You're going to fall behind, and then you're going to have to kind of claw your way back. And so I think that's going to be essential for Kansas City in tonight's game, that they get out to an early lead and they allow a little bit of breathing room for Brady Singer to accommodate the fact that he's probably going to get some traffic on the base paths.
And Evaldi's not all the way back yet from his injury. So, I mean, he is, but I think they're still being cautious. So let's say you don't like the juice at 5.5 total hits allowed, taking that over, which I really like. You can put that with like a Royals, I don't know, plus 1.5 run line. You could even, honestly, you could even take that up to 2.5 runs. And if you put those two together, you can get it at plus 160, basically. So Brady Singer to, go to allow more than 5 hits and to give the Royals
kind of like that
2.5 runs, you can go to plus 160 on that. So that might be an opportunity. Maybe that'll be, maybe we'll just call it that as a play for me today, because that at least is a competitive game. Again, I don't like them on. It's
kind of a
line.
hedge a little bit too, like you're hedging.
That's what I sort of did yesterday, but it's more about just like the reality of what Brady Singer is, right? Brady Singer gives up a lot of hits and walks in games that he's really good in. He almost never doesn't give them up, and I haven't looked at his game log yet, and we can do that as we get ready to preview that game. But just as you look at it, if you watch him pitch, that's who he is. That's who he's been. It's who he's always been. He's given up 5 or more hits in the last 3 games. Now he would have gone his last game. He gave up only 5. So against the Dodgers there, that would not have gone over, but it's about 50-50 on getting over that number. His hits allowed going back to the month of, go back to May 13th, let's say 9-6, yes, 4 no, 9-7, yes, 5 no. So, in his last 6 or 7 games, it's there about 60% of the time. But we can get into the Royals in just a little bit, and we'll get into that and just sort of taking a bird's eye on everything for them. Let's continue our conversation with Jerome Tang in this contract. So Jerome Tang's new contract, more or less, and raises have been given. I'm looking at a USA Today collection on this from mid-March of this year. Bill Self is the highest paid coach in the country. For Jerome Tang, his new deal, he was at like 33, and this would probably elevate him. What does it go up to this year? 3.5, right? Is that right? With some bonuses and stuff. We'll call it 3.6, I think, actually. It put him up there with like Matt Painter, Jeff Capel, Juwan Howard, in that range. Top 25, certainly. And I think that's fine. I think that's about right. Let's see what happens this year with Tang, but that feels about right. If you look at it against the Big 12, I think it would close the gap sort of. He was already the 5th, according to the list I'm looking at, and it would close the gap on Jamie Dixon, but it would leave Bill Self ahead of him. I think we could all say that's fine. Scott Drew would be ahead of him. We could all say that's fine. Kelvin Sampson would be ahead of him. We can all say that's fine. The one that's interesting is this doesn't have the Pac-12. So let me see where our new additions are. Mick Cronin would be ahead of him. Tommy Lloyd would be ahead of him. Dana Altman would be ahead of him. And Andy Enfield would be ahead of him. I'll take him over Andy Enfield any day.
Well, Enfield's not there anymore.
Enfield that's right. That's right. So he moved on. So he would not be in the Big 12 anymore. And I don't know what he got paid at SMU. So Altman, Lloyd, Cronin would be ahead of him of the new teams, which I think you're fine with,
because
right?
UCLA is not going to the Big 12 and
right.
So
sorry,
really you're talking about your.
It's hard to use this list of that is not fact. It's factoring in. It's going back to last year, basically, which is why this gets a little tricky. But
Tommy Lloyd would be the one. That would be the one that would be entering the Big 12. I mean, Tad Boyle, I don't think has a contract that
Hurley
is up there.
Yeah, under
Hurley, and then Utah. I don't
Craig
even know
Smith.
who Utah's. Yeah,
Craig
I don't even
Smith.
know who Utah's head coach is.
First time I've heard that name. To be quite honest, I think it puts Tang 6th in the Big 12. More or less. It took us a long time to get there, so I apologize. But it puts him, I think, about 6th. I don't have a problem with any of those, I don't think. I think there is still room for him to get out and prove it. Jamie Dixon's the interesting one, but you got to remember with Jamie Dixon, he's a TCU guy, I think, private school, been the most successful ever. It's been the most successful ever there. Like that one, and they had that deep run into the NCAA tournament, and that's built on some other success. So I think I'm fine with where that ranks him, honestly. And I think it has room to go up, and it will. It's built in, right? But I'm sure those guys all have built-in raises too. But if he has another run in him, like if this goes really well, like I think it could, and let's say they're a Sweet 16 team, they're top 5 in the Big 12, top 4. I think you could honestly at some point see it go up again. But there is still a show me something, piece to Jerome Tang at K-State, don't you think? Like, yes, they had the deep run, but you can't bank everything off of what happened 2 years ago. I don't think. The recruiting piece has stayed consistent, which is, I don't know, what percentage of important is recruiting? 50% in today's game? I mean,
more than that. I mean, it's massive.
Well, no, I mean recruiting versus coaching, right? So like Penny has made a career out of recruiting, can't coach. I don't think you can get up into this upper echelon unless you can do both, right? Like you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to both coach and recruit. But I'd say it's probably 50-50. And he's clearly knocked that piece out of the park. Like he's fine in recruiting. You don't have any concerns there. I don't have any concerns coaching. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you still got to prove it just a little bit before you all of a sudden become the, get up into like Scott Drew, Bill Self territory. Those guys have been coaching those teams for forever.
Yeah, I think that with Tang, you have to recognize that he also, there's a lot that goes into his job that he does, that I think that he probably, and I don't know if these are expectations, they're probably not expectations that anybody else puts on him. I think they're expectations that he puts on himself because of the kind of person that he is by all accounts, where, yeah, there's the recruiting, there's the coaching, there's all of that. But I mean, he's flat out said like his job is to develop young men, right? Like it's basketball, but then so I think that if you were to ask him, he'd probably split that pie up in a much different way than anybody on the outside looking in would probably say the importance of what's a part of his job, right? Like he's going to say there are all these other things, making them future, great men and husbands and fathers and business people and, whatever, all of that. I think that's what he would probably say. As far as his salary is concerned, I think that he is somebody, and he's, anybody can say, yeah, money's not that important to me. I think he genuinely probably believes that. I don't know if that really, he probably could have fought for more money in this contract. I think he probably could have been a hardline negotiator and said, look, we made an Elite 8 run. We did that in my very first year. We have brought in the pieces to potentially be really stinking good this coming season. I've had all of this interest from other programs that I've turned down despite some issues that I do not support on this campus with Naquan Tomlin and that entire situation. But I'm willing to be here, but I want to get paid for it. He probably could have had a strong case and, legs to stand on to be able to get probably quite a bit more money, I would think. I'm not sure that that's really that important to him.
It's not. I think
so. I don't particularly care where he's ranked in the Big 12.
Well, I don't either. As long as
I'm not sure that that's really the key to his happiness.
It's not. I don't think it is. I think
it's easy to say that you don't care about money, but
right. But the point, like when you're, 50 something, like Tommy, And I don't know, and you don't know because we've never been in this position. What the hell am I going to do with $5 million that I can't do with $3.5 million? Right? It's not like these guys have downtime. They're coaching.
I'm sure I could find something to do with that.
Sometimes I think it has more to do with respect among your peers. Like not like that he cares what other people think about, but like you need to at least, do like show me that I'm as valuable as all these other people.
Yeah,
maybe.
but I promise you that they all value, like from the peer perspective. Again, I think that anybody could look at Jerome Tang and I don't.
That's
think
not what I'm trying. I don't mean he's trying to earn respect from his peers. I mean you just want to, like, industry wide. Like, even if you didn't need the money, you wouldn't want to see a bunch of people, surpass you or whatever. I do think there's something, but I agree with you. I don't think ranking in the Big 10, I don't think he cares. I wouldn't. And I'm not saying that because it's Jerome Tang. Like, at some point, like, how much money can you spend or do anything with? Like, it's more of a, it would probably bother you if everybody was making a significant amount more money than you, because it's like, well, hang on a minute. Like, what are we doing here? But they're far from that. It's about right. I think this contract gets it about right, and you just don't have to worry. And if he goes on and has a bunch of success, you just wait for Baylor and you try to say, hey, we're going to pay you even more. Don't go to Baylor. You got to leave that ammo there too. All right, we'll come back. The text contest is open for you. So make sure you enter for your chance to win Kenny Chesney tickets. Again, that is just the keyword Kenny, Kenny, to the number 20357. Message and data rates apply. Good luck, everybody. We'll come back. We'll have more Sports Daily. We'll wrap up hour number 1 right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up hour number 1 here. Good luck on the Kenny Chesney contest, everybody. This is it. One more mention here. Kenny, K-E-N-N-Y, 20357. Message and data rates apply. It's the Kenny Chesney, Zach Brown Band concert live at Arrowhead Stadium, July 6th in Kansas City. We'll get that winner selected later this evening. 6:01 p.m., we're told, is when that winner will come. So hope everybody that's able to take part in that enjoys it. And we appreciate your listenership here on KFH. Don't forget, you can also catch us on the Odyssey app. And don't forget, you can also catch our video stream on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. Coming up in the second hour, we will dig into the Royals, the game yesterday, looking ahead to the series here against the Rangers. We'll get you caught back up on the Major League Baseball standings and the implications of what happened yesterday. We have the hire that it's a bold move in LA. It's interesting. The hire, Reddick, LeBron James. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I would have liked Dan Hurley more. I can tell you that. But we get into that a little bit as well. The NFL, it's been kind of quiet, Tommy. I'm a little surprised at how seemingly quiet it's been in the NFL. Have you begun your dive into fantasy football yet?
Not even close. I'm nowhere near ready to go for fantasy football.
Usually I wait until July 5th. As soon as the July 4th holiday is done, that's when I start to really sort of look at things. I've browsed. I can tell you that I am not ready right now for it, but that, we'll have some fun. We got to get
you and I are in a league together, and we had a rookie draft a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time I thought about the NFL or fantasy football in a long time. To figure out what I was doing.
Like offering me trades, and I'm like, I don't even know what I have. Like, I don't remember. Like, I focus so much of my time and energy on fantasy football, and it's like the second the season is over, my brain just does a total wipe, and I don't remember anything that happened the year before. I couldn't tell you I don't know how good I did last year. Like, it totally just shuts itself off, which is probably a good thing because I would run out of brain space quickly if I tried to pile on one season over another. 869-1240. We'll come back. A little Royals talk on the other side. Your chance to win some HTO as well. Don't go away. It's Albracht and Castor, TGIF. See you in a second.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily here on KFH. Literally right as we come on the air here, a little bit of breaking news, Tommy, that the governor has signed the Star Bond program to potentially try to attract the Chiefs and Royals over the state line. Sean Logging just putting that out, our friend of the program who keeps us apprised of the things happening in Topeka. So that was signed. We anticipated that it would be, but it is officially now. So that bit of news right here off the top we get. It is Sports Daily. We appreciate you and however it is that you take in the show. Maybe you're listening to us on the Odyssey app. Maybe you told your smart speaker to turn on KFH and you're listening to us over the air. Maybe you're watching us right now on our video stream, Facebook, YouTube, and X. You can leave us comments there. Always an easy way to get in touch with the program is to leave those comments there. Maybe you don't have time to call us on the IHOP hotline, which, by the way, is open for you. And it is an interesting time at IHOP because you can get the big farmhouse breakfast, which is 2 smoked sausage links, 2 strips of hickory smoked bacon, 2 pork sausage links, 2 pieces of thick cut ham, as well as 2 eggs, hash browns, 2 buttermilk pancakes, and toast. I love to eat, Tommy. I love to eat breakfast. That would be something to try to tackle that breakfast there at IHOP. We appreciate their support of the program, though.
I'm a little hungry after hearing you read that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
breakfast.
try to figure. I'm probably gonna have like a bowl of cereal or something.
I may, you know what? I may try to swing the kids over that 2x2x2 that we've been talking about. 2 eggs, 2 bacon strips, 2 buttermilk pancakes, $7. Maybe we'll go have lunch at IHOP or something. We appreciate IHOP bringing us the hotline. Unrelated, 869-1240 is that number. All right, so Royals yesterday, Tommy, get it done. They get it done against the A's. It was an interesting game. It puts them, they don't lose another game basically to Cleveland. They stay at 6 games back. They re-jump Minnesota, who lost yesterday. They had a heartbreaker, Minnesota did, in the way that they lost. But so the Royals now right there, back within 6. You'd have loved for that to be, better than that coming out of the Oakland series. Now you go to Texas, and Texas is struggling. Texas has only won 4 of their last 10 games. They did win their most recent game 2 days ago, but they have been struggling. It continues a very long road trip for the Royals, which you do, I think, have some concern for. But here we go. They get it done. They avoid the sweep. They didn't blow it completely, but it's not a good start still to this stretch of games before that Cleveland series.
They had to have it, and we talked about that yesterday. They had to have yesterday, and it came with some late game heroics from Bobby Witt Jr. To be able to get that victory. I thought Seth Lugo pitched a really good game. I think that maybe Quatrero left him in slightly too long. I would have pulled him in the 7th, like before the 7th. But I get it. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the league. So, you kind of want to see what he can do. I understand that. And they're not, it was not like they were clinging on to a substantial lead or anything. They gave up those 2 runs in the 7th inning. And at that point, fortunately the bullpen came through and pitched really well. And Witt was able to, get that go ahead run. So ultimately it worked out for the Royals. It got a little, butt puckery, I think, for Royals fans there towards the end.
Yeah, for sure. Look, you had the 2 solo home runs from Freddie Fermin, and he was, sort of the star offensively. He has become one of the better bats in the lineup at this point. I would like to see him play every day. At minimum, Tommy, I would like to see him playing every day, and I think he will. So that's good. That gives you a little
starting
juice.
Catcher. I mean, I know that you're
you just flip
Salvi away from the catcher position.
Yeah, you just flip flop and Perez. I mean, it's rarity that your catcher is your DH. I hate to keep making this correlation, but I'll do it. I mean, the Rangers did that to some degree last year with Heim and Garver. Like they kind of had the same thing. It's fine. Like if Fermin's your best bat, and I think he is right now, like he's playing really well. It's not just that little power surge. He's hitting over 300 this year, Tommy. He's getting on base. He's slugging at a high clip, higher than anybody on the team, quite frankly, better than other than Bobby Witt Jr. Of the guys that have a lot of at-bats is OPS. Like all the metrics are there, just at least ride it while it's hot. So yeah, I'd keep him right where he's at. And I think Melendez had a couple doubles yesterday. So the middle is good. The top we still don't agree with, and I'll bet you we see Garcia slotted right back in there at the top today. But whatever. That's the other thing about this lineup thing. We don't have to get all the way into it again. Like they're sort of coming together in the middle of the lineup. So let Bobby get up there and set the table for these guys. Because right now that's where your production's coming from. 3 runs with the Royals had 3 home runs in the game yesterday, Tommy. And they scored 3 runs. I'm glad they had 3 home runs. And Bobby Witt Jr. had the late one. And you heard the audio clip of Quatrero talking about Bobby Witt Jr. because he just absolutely destroyed that ball. I would guess that sort of sets Bobby on a hot streak here over the next little bit. Timing will be good for that. But you just 3 home runs and you only get 3 runs out of it. That sort of, I mean, I'm glad they got out of the game with a win, but it certainly was not the sort of offensive game you would have hoped for. You get 3 home runs. I mean, you'd like to at least have, 4, 5, whatever when you come out of that, but it was enough, but barely.
Yeah, and we talked about the recent struggles of Michael Garcia. He obviously wasn't in the starting lineup, did pinch hit, and was 0 for 1 in his one at bat. But going back, the 4 games prior, and I mentioned this yesterday, that Garcia didn't have a hit in his previous 4 games in the leadoff position. They put Nick Lofton in the leadoff role yesterday. He was 0 for 4. So Bobby Witt Jr. in the last 5 games has not had the person in front of him in the lineup get a hit in the last 5 games. That seems like a problem to me. It seems like an offensive issue. And whether or not, I know I'm a big advocate for putting Bobby Witt Jr. in the leadoff spot, and I'm gonna die on that hill. I think that's gonna be my position that I take. But even if they don't, even if Quatrero does not put Bobby Witt Jr. in the leadoff spot, do something. Put somebody else in the leadoff spot that can at least get a hit to allow somebody to set the table for Bobby Witt Jr. I know you just mentioned about having Bobby set the table for others, and I get that.
I don't know who else it would be.
Put him in a better position. Like the last 5 games, man, he's not had any support at all in the leadoff position in front of him at all. Not once.
I mean, maybe you could try Massey there when he's back, but I don't think they have another option besides Bobby Witt Jr. Right? I think Bobby Witt Jr. is the only.
I agree with that.
Right
I'm a believer in putting him in the leadoff spot. What I'm saying,
Massey would be
I'm hedging that by saying if you don't put somebody else in there that can.
But who else?
Set the table
if it's not Bobby Witt Jr., who would
I don't know.
With there?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the problem. And people point this out like, well, Bobby Witt Jr. struggled in that spot. Like, yeah, okay, last year
in 37 games or whatever it was.
Mike Trout is the example to me for Bobby Witt Jr. Mike Trout is like Bobby Witt Jr. is Mike Trout in a lot of ways. So just put him at the top of the lineup. Get him more at bats. You trust his at bats more. Probably strikes out a little bit too much, but the time again, singles turn into doubles when Bobby Witt Jr. has a clear base ahead of him because he's going to steal the base. And if you can do that, and then again, I would slot Pasquantino because Pasquantino has been disappointing this year, but he doesn't strike out and he's productive and he at least puts the ball in play. Like if you get Bobby on and he steals first, he's probably getting to third if Pasquantino's batting second. And now you have Salvi with an opportunity that all you need is a sac fly. I mean, it's a lot of pressure on Bobby Witt Jr., but I think, Tommy, I mean, my goodness, he has developed
if anybody
enough
can
this
handle
year.
It, he can.
He's an MVP candidate. To look back at last year or anything prior and say, oh, I don't know if he can handle leadoff, I think it's just silly. Like
Yeah.
why? Like why
And
wouldn't he be able
yeah.
to? Look at how much he's developed as a hitter, and he's young and he's still developing. So yeah, I would. The only other player I could think of is Massey when he gets healthy. Could maybe do it, but again, I don't think that makes a
But I think
ton of
in
sense.
today's age, you can kind of throw out the conventional leadoff hitter wisdom. If they're not going to
Oh,
lead off with
totally.
Bobby Witt Jr., Kyle Schwarber was the leadoff guy
Right.
for the
Yeah,
Phillies.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you could put Salvador Perez as the leadoff hitter. I'm not saying that that's what they'll do, but like you can kind of throw conventional wisdom,
Well,
out the window when it comes to what you're going to do at the leadoff spot. I just care about giving your best player on the team
more at
a
bats.
little bit of support. And more at
Well-
bats, but a little bit of support. Like that's all I care about. Going back to yesterday's game, let's just look at yesterday. The batters that hit in the 8 spot, the 9 spot, and the 1 spot yesterday, 0 for 11. 0 for 11. And Bobby Witt Jr. bats second. He got, to your point, you mentioned it, like there were 3 home runs. You would have loved to have more than 3 runs off those 3 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr. was one of them. It was the go-ahead and winning run for the Royals. He had nobody on base in front of him the entire game. So there's no way that you're going to have anything more than a solo shot. It won the game for them, fortunately. But if you're if you're tied or down by more than 1 run, you're kind of screwed at that point because they're not getting any base runners in front of Bobby Witt Jr.
I agree. And if you're not and he is so disruptive out there too. I remember I'm just trying to think of some of my favorite leadoff hitters ever, and he reminds me of so many of them in what he does and his explosion. And like he has more power. It's not a problem. The thing I think that holds a lot of people up is he has so much power potential. People are like, well, you got to have that later. And I'm like, no, you don't, because that part of it really you're only guaranteed happens once in a game. So at absolute minimum, it's just the get him more at bats, right? That's it. Get him more. Because if you think about it, what did we look at yesterday? He and Garcia have both essentially played all year. And Garcia has been able to have 5 more. They have about the same number of walks, and he's had about 5 more at bats than Bobby Witt Jr. 5. So what does that equate to? For Bobby Witt Jr., I think it's
a couple more hits.
Couple more hits. But if there are a couple more timely hits, maybe it's 1 more win. That's a big deal. And it's not. And it's not. Like that wouldn't mathematically say 1 more win. Maybe it's worth 0.4 wins. Whatever it is, that is valuable. And over the course of a season, maybe that's 15 to 20 more at bats, right? And maybe that gives you 3 more opportunities to win games. Even if over the course of a season, it was worth 1 full win, that's a lot. And so it's just that part of it is the most basic. Just get him more at bats. But to give yourself there aren't a lot of high probabilities in baseball, quite frankly. But to get him on, let him steal second. The one thing Pasquantino does well is not strike out, which means you can probably get him to third and give Salvi a chance just to hit a fly ball. Like, how many times out of 10 do you think that scenario could be successful? I would say at least 2 out of 10, 1 out of 5. I think it's probably more like 1.5 out of 5 or something at a 300, 30% success, whatever that, however that equation works, because it sort of plays to the strengths of all 3 of those players, at least until Vinny Pasquantino figures it out. And I don't know if that's going to happen. But the good news is Fermin is handy. They're getting Massey back. I can see the lineup coming together. Here's the other interesting thing. When was the last time the bullpen had a bad game?
It's been a long time.
They went out of order yesterday, which is really interesting. They went out of order yesterday. They threw MacArthur to come in and help out Lugo. Lugo had been great. He came in. He had 1 trouble spot and gave up a home run. But then you've got MacArthur earlier in the game, Zerpa Stratton. I don't know what they'll be able to add. I think if they can add a back end guy, you'd like to slot him in the 9th. But I don't have a problem with unslotting their relievers, basically, because I don't think they're talented enough to just hand guys certain innings. And so if they just have to sort of button push to try and find matchups and do that sort of thing, I am old school. I love the mental component of having guys and innings that the other team knows, like, crap, we're to their 7, 8, 9. It's going to be hard on us now. I like that old, like, Ned Yost, Ron Washington, just lock it down at the back end. The Royals don't have the ability to do that because they don't have that.
Wade Davis and Greg Holland, and
I know, right? They don't. They
when
can't
those are
do
your
it because
lockdown guys. You can do.
They
that.
don't have those guys. So to button push it, I mean, I like it. I like the button pushing on it, and so they've been really successful in the bullpen for a week or so. Like, they were good out in LA. They were pretty good in this Oakland series. I'm kind of in on that, and it's nice to see them have success in the bullpen. Is the main thing, and they are. I mean, they're finding it a little bit.
I know it's apples to oranges, hard to compare the two, but it frustrates me to my very core that Matt Quatraro is willing to button push in the bullpen. He's not willing to button push in the
right.
lineup.
That doesn't have that. That's a good point. That doesn't make
drives
any sense,
me crazy. And I know, like, when you're pushing buttons in the bullpen, that's a little bit different than your day-to-day starting lineup. I understand that. So don't come at me about that. I get that they're two different things entirely, but come on, if you're flexible in the bullpen, please be flexible when it comes to what you're doing at the top of the lineup.
Generally speaking, I'm more like, I don't care about lineups as much as I do bullpens. Like, when they're effective, I would much rather have the bullpen set in stone than a lineup set in stone. I have no problem moving guys around in a lineup. Now, there are certain situations where you wouldn't mess with it. Like, I'll use Bruce Bochy as an example, because I feel like he's been maybe the best of our time, best manager of our time, Tommy. He messes with a lot of things. He does not mess with Simeon at the top and Seager behind him. So, but just about anything else he'll mess with. I don't have a problem if I would say Bobby Witt Jr. at the leadoff would be the only thing I wouldn't. I would do that, and I would leave that alone, and I would be willing to mix everything else up. I don't care every day. Who cares, right? Like, who's hot right now? We'll move you up in the lineup. Because I don't think the players care too much. Like, that's an old school thing. I mean, do you really think players care about that anymore? Because I don't. I mean, I don't think they care where they hit in the lineup. But the only part of that I wouldn't change is I would bat Bobby Witt Jr. leadoff no matter what, and then throw everything else out the window. It's not going to happen. We're just going to keep screaming this into the clouds because I don't think he's going to do it. I don't.
He would have already, I think. And for Bobby Witt Jr., I think I said this the other day. It's not about, in his mind, I'm sure, padding his individual stats. That's not, I'm sure he would have loved to have a 3-run homer yesterday as opposed to a solo shot to win the game. He got a solo shot. I don't think he particularly cares about that, but I care about him having opportunities to be the difference maker with more support around him. That's what I care about. And if I'm him, I'm sitting there and I'm like, look, I'm doing everything I can. And, even going back to earlier in the Athletics series, the only offense, the game where they only scored 1 run and they lost 5-1, the only offense came from Bobby Witt Jr. with a double down the left field line. That was the only offense. And the only reason that there was anybody on base was Nelson Velasquez drew a walk. That was it. And Bobby was able to get into a position to where he could at least drive in a run. He's not getting those opportunities anywhere near the clip that he should. And look, is he the best player in baseball? He's definitely one of them. He's clearly one of the best players, if not the best player in the American League. So why are you not giving him an opportunity to drive in more runs, to to be able to win more games for your team? And I know that, I think we just talked about it a few minutes ago. It's hard to equate a number of wins to him maybe having more opportunities to drive in runs, but I'm sure that it's there. I'm sure that like if you were to put him in a better position in the lineup, it could maybe equate to one more win or more. I don't know, but I do think that you're at least giving him that chance.
Well, you just asked me something. Bobby Witt Jr. best player, but if you could have any player in baseball, how far down the list do you go for Bobby Witt Jr.? And you have to consider age here, because I think
you're talking just for a 1 year, like right now.
No,
just having to build a team,
to build a team.
Absolutely,
I mean,
Bobby Witt Jr.
Shohei is the answer. Shohei Ohtani is the answer. But I think you can make a case for Aaron Judge at this point. But he's 32 years old, right? Juan
You
Soto,
could probably say Juan Soto,
25. So that's more. I think you're looking at right now, and Acuna probably is, but Acuna's dealing with another injury here, so maybe not.
Yeah.
Gunnar Henderson is a year or two younger than, he's 2 years younger than Bobby Witt Jr. Jose Ramirez has been fantastic for a long time, but he's 30 on the other side of 30. Mookie Betts is in the conversation. He's getting a little older now. I think for me, it's either Soto, Bobby Witt Jr., or Gunnar Henderson, probably at this point. I mean, I got to tell you, I think I'm taking Bobby Witt Jr. over anyone. I think we have seen the best of Juan Soto, and it's better than what we've seen so far from Bobby Witt Jr., but I don't think we've seen anywhere near the ceiling for Bobby Witt Jr. And that's why I would put my, cast my vote. Shohei Ohtani is going to be the winner here. Still at 29, what he does, I think he's still the answer. But after that, I think I'm taking Bobby Witt Jr. I think I'm taking him over Soto. I'm taking him over Henderson, just because I think there's still so much more that we're going to get from him. I don't think Tommy, I don't think we're seeing anywhere near his potential. I think we're seeing his speed potential, certainly. I think we've probably seen his power potential. Like, I don't know that he's going to be more than a 35 home run a year guy. I think we've seen, but what I don't think we've seen in the development that's coming now is his plate discipline, his batting average, all those things that are going to raise everything else up. And whatever that intangible, like it factor, whatever that is, he's got so much of that I think it's him for me outside of Shohei.
There's a long way to go in this process. And I don't mean to take anything away from Gunnar Henderson, because he's a great young player. But the fact that Bobby Witt Jr. is not leading the All-Star voting on a Royals team that is good. It'd be different if the Royals were in I know Baltimore is. I wouldn't be surprised if the Royals were in the cellar like they have been for the last decade, and Bobby Witt Jr. not getting the attention. He's a great player on a good team. Gunnar Henderson is really, really good. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I think a large part of that is because he doesn't have any support in front of him in the lineup. He's not in the right position in the lineup. Again, I started this segment by saying it. I'm going to end it by saying it. I'm going to die on this hill. Give him some support or move him to leadoff. Do something, Matt.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you move him to leadoff, he may not also get any support. You'd have to move him down in the order to
but
get
at
that.
Least he's going to be able to take care of himself a little bit more, I think, in the leadoff spot.
He just needs to be the leadoff hitter. It's period. I'm going to write a letter. That's what my mom would do. She'd write a letter. Do you think I should write him a letter? Like, I don't know. My mom recently, her most recent letter writing was a letter to Good Morning America. She owns a flower shop, Scott's Flowers in Amarillo, if you're ever in Amarillo. But she got really, really upset because Good Morning America ran a 1-800-Flowers ad. And she was like, well, that's not fair. They kill small business. And I'm like, yeah. So she wrote a letter to Good Morning America. I'm going to write a letter to Matt Quatraro.
Did she get a response from Good Morning America? Did Michael Strahan write her a letter in return?
I think she's still waiting on that response.
Okay.
But you know what? Regardless, makes her feel better. She got it off her chest. So maybe I just need to write a letter. Maybe we should write a letter to Matt Quatraro. Dear Matt, dear Mr. Quatraro, could you please bat Bobby Witt Jr. leadoff? Try it for a week and let's see what happens. We're willing to be wrong about this. Sincerely, those dummies in Wichita who think they know more about baseball than you do. We'll see we could see how that goes. Maybe.
Sure, it will go very well.
Yeah. Or we'll get, I think my colleague TJ and/or Brandon will be up for a game of that Cleveland series. I'll just have them ask that question for us and see what happens.
He'll maybe make a move with Garcia, but he'll just put Nick Lofton in the leadoff spot just to spite
That's what
us.
he did yesterday. That's what he did yesterday.
He'll continue that.
Like, come on, just do it.
This was your chance, Q.
We'll be back. Sports Daily right after this. 869-1240.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
program brought to you by Crestview Country Club. We appreciate Crestview's support. All kinds of memberships that you could get your hands on. I've played Twilight Golf, 9 holes, each of my kids the last 2 days. I still owe my 5-year-old son 9-hole Twilight Golf, but I got the girls in the last couple nights. It's been fantastic. Played South one night, North the next, and tonight it'll be at the pool, I think, Tommy. Big pool night. Just hang out, lounge around, let the kids play, have a couple beers, and enjoy ourselves out at the pool tonight.
It should be fun. I'm a big fan of evening pool time, evening swimming. I don't know about you. When I was growing up, we had a
less sunscreen, right?
Yeah, we had a city pool in the small town that I grew up in. They were never open in the evening. It was like a daytime thing. And one night a year they would open for like a night swim. And there was nothing better than swimming in the evening. And so we'll get to do that tonight at Crestview. They're open. I think they open until 8 or 9 or something, pretty much every night. So it's fun to get out there, have dinner, like you mentioned, have a few drinks, let the kids play. I like it when our kids hang out because then they kind of entertain like themselves, and I don't have to. And you don't have to. We can just kind of hang out and have a good time.
We're one kid away from like them all being able to fully swim. There's a lot of those things we're coming down the home stretch on. And so, yeah, it does get a little different. We'll be playing some pool football. My oldest daughter loves football. She doesn't really care about watching it. She wants to play it. And so we play football most nights in the yard. So we'll play some pool football. But give Crestview a call. There's all kinds of different memberships. There are memberships where you just take advantage of the pool and all the stuff. You're not a golfer. It's called social membership. Check it out. Give them a call. Tell them we sent you. We appreciate their support. All right, Tommy, as we roll forward here, J.J. Redick is now the coach of the Lakers. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to give you a hot take on what kind of coach he might be. First-time head coaches in the NBA. Joe Mazzulla just won an NBA title. It happens. Young guys. Joe Mazzulla just won an NBA title. It happens. J.J. Redick hasn't coached, I don't believe, at any level. That is the part that is a little concerning. But didn't Jason Kidd was he an assistant ever? I'm going to look this up because Jason Kidd, like the former player to coach thing, baseball sort of started it. Like you just jump right in and do it, and it's no big deal. I think he started coaching as a head coach. Didn't he get that Brooklyn job as just like straight off the court, basically? So, it took a minute. Yeah, he was. Yeah, so he was not named.
He went right into being a head coach.
But then I think he spent a little time. He was an assistant then for the Lakers, actually. And then he made his way back to the Mavs. So, I don't know that Redick is going to get that because that Brooklyn thing, that was a decade ago. God, that does not seem like that was long ago. But we see this. I don't know if it's going to work with Redick. I'm sure LeBron James is fond of this move, which is important, right? Like if you're not, look, they swung and missed on Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley would have been a home run hire. There's no question about that. They've been through too many coaches. The stability's not there. We all know that too. So if you have it all now laid out on the table, LeBron James is still very good. Don't you at least want to just extend that runway as long as you can? The problem for the Lakers is I think no matter who their coach is, they're not going to win the title right now. So what are you going to do, right? Like, what are you going to do anyway?
Really, this move was made for LeBron. I mean, they're buddies.
It had to be, right?
They co-host a podcast together. I mean,
they would not have hired J.J. Redick if LeBron James wasn't there. Saying that it's not a LeBron thing is just, it's fairly naive. Like he's not getting that job if LeBron's not there.
And it's a complete, in my mind, 180 in the direction that the Lakers wanted to go as far as their future was concerned with a head coach. It was very well documented. And I think it was even Rob Pelinka himself from the Lakers saying that they were looking to put a foundation in place and have, a long time coach. And I'm not suggesting that JJ Redick won't be that guy, but the Dan Hurley pursuit, that was to set a long-term foundation and have a cornerstone with that franchise for a long time that didn't have anything to do with LeBron James. Whether or not LeBron James was fine with it, that is kind of irrelevant. They weren't going to make that hire. They didn't make that offer to Dan Hurley because of LeBron James. They did it for the future of that franchise after LeBron James is gone. This hire with JJ Redick, first and foremost, is for LeBron James. Like, it's a complete 180 in the philosophy of what they were going after in this coaching hire. Now, I think that the question becomes, after Dan Hurley, are there other people out there that you could have set a really strong foundation long term?
Exactly.
And I don't know if they felt strong about that. And maybe that's why they went back to, okay, we'll just do whatever makes LeBron happy.
I don't disagree with that strategy. I completely agree with you. You shot for the moon with Hurley. If you're not going to get the guy that you think can transform your franchise, the next best option being, well, let's at least try to get LeBron back and make sure he's okay. I don't have a problem with that. LeBron James is still awesome. Like, he's still producing at an insanely high level. So, okay, just take another swing at it. It's not going to happen maybe you can get a free agent that fits. I don't know. But what's the better option there? Because I don't think you don't force LeBron out, right? You don't do that. And I don't know if it'll ever work with anybody else with Anthony Davis. The Lakers are, in reality, probably fairly close to blowing this thing up and kind of starting over. And
they're
so
not a championship roster right now anyway.
No,
when you look at them.
They're not. And I don't think JJ Redick, even if he was an incredible coach, which maybe he will be, I don't know, he's not going to turn them into one.
Yeah, I don't think Dan Hurley would have led them to an NBA championship with the current roster that they have. I think they would have had to probably make some changes.
Right. And so you got to get, if you get LeBron back, if you're trying to extend that runway, there's nothing wrong with, like, if they draft Bronny, even though who knows what'll happen there. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. You just sort of run that back and you're good. And they were a playoff team last year, and you're taking your chance. You would have never run Michael Jordan out of town, right? It didn't matter what it was.
I mean, the Bulls did in '98, but
he made a decision to go play baseball or do whatever.
No, I'm talking in '98.
At the end of it. At the end of it. Yeah.
I mean, Jerry.
Well, okay. Do you think that was a good
Reinsdorf,
decision? Or do you think that was a good decision to do that?
It absolutely
right.
was not.
I'm saying
because it was egos. Like, they blew up the entire team. Like, and it was announced that that's the final year that you're going to have Jordan, Pippen, and Jackson.
You'd never, in your right mind, do something like that. And so you just let it happen, right? You just let LeBron, you just say, you'd welcome him back. Certainly. Who knows? Now he'll be back now. He'll be back with JJ Redick there. And you get more LeBron James. And that's not a problem, because he's still a really good player. And Anthony Davis is still a really good player. And yeah, maybe if they were both 100% healthy and, you add a couple of pieces that make the team better overall, fine. It's so funny to me, Tommy, how everyone glosses over the fact that this team did win an NBA championship, right? I was listening to the
bubble,
Infinity.
Right?
Doesn't matter. They still
in the bubble?
won. Yeah, in the bubble. They won the championship. Nobody else did in the bubble. Like, they won the championship. And I hear people all the time. I was listening to Infinity Sports Network on my drive home last night. It was JR Sport Brief. And some guy's like, yeah, it's just been a disaster in LA forever. Well, they did win the title back in 2020. And I guess we need to give them credit for that. And I'm like, yeah, you need to give them credit for they won the dang title. Like, you can't just ignore, like, that didn't. So it's not like, it is within the range of possibilities that in a perfect scenario, when you get to start with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, maybe you could make a postseason run. It's better than not having LeBron James, because if you have to rebuild there, like, the much more difficult decision, I think, for the Lakers will be, do you rebuild with Anthony Davis or not? I don't think it's as much to do with LeBron James, but unless you're ready to get rid of Anthony Davis, just run it back. See if you can't tinker. Maybe JJ Redick can find something. Maybe there's a free agent out there that, has the sort of impact Drew Holiday had for Boston, and then you go forward with it. And good health and good fortune holds true, and maybe you have a shot. But If you don't have LeBron James, you don't have a shot. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
It's just wild to me, the about face that the front office with the Lakers have done from the pursuit of Dan Hurley, which, seemed like, and I think definitely was, a pursuit of a long-term foundational change with that franchise to have some stability with the Lakers moving forward that they hadn't had in over a decade to, okay, well, we're going to change what we're doing. We got to appease LeBron. So let's bring in his podcast co-host.
I mean, I think it's a little more than that. I mean, JJ Redick has been, and it's, self gratification to some degree when you hear about how brilliant a basketball mind he is.
I'm sure he is.
But you're hearing that from ESPN where he happens to work and all these things. JJ Redick has always been a polarizing basketball personality. He was not the most loved personality. There are a lot of people that despise JJ Redick. I've never watched him as an analyst because I'm not watching NBA analysis. So I don't know how smart he is. He's probably pretty smart. He went to Duke. So, we'll see if it works. Are they going to win a title? No. Were they going to win a title anyway? No. So you might as well keep LeBron happy. I get it. I understand why they did it. And we'll move on. Big deal. Dan Hurley would have been a better hire. They tried. He turned him down. 869-1240. We'll come back. We'll take a look at tonight's game for the Royals specifically, get you a preview on that as we make our way through this Sports Daily. The Royals road trip continues in Texas tonight, facing the Rangers. Royals baseball on KFH, available for free on the Odyssey app as well. You can tune in tonight at 7 or simply download that Odyssey app. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Mornings at KFH. Staff enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee. Always appreciate Prairie Fire support, keeping us fueled up, primed up, ready to go. Jad Chambers probably on, I don't know, what are you on, Jad? About cup 2, 3, 4, 9?
3.
Jad's got the early mornings.
3. Okay.
There it is. 3, not bad. I whenever I'm there, I'm at least 3. So we appreciate their support. Tommy, Hunter Renfroe, the roster move, he's back. It's not Massey and Renfroe, just Renfroe, which is kind of interesting. We'll see if Massey comes back this weekend. That was the initial hope for him. And Waka, too. Does Waka come back? And probably, where does Waka, let me look at something real quick. Where would Waka slot in? He would come back. It's either Saturday or Sunday if he comes back at at his regular spot. So you've got Singer tonight. You already had Marshall B tomorrow, I believe. I'm just double checking that. Yeah, they have him. Well, CBS has him listed as the probable starter tomorrow. Pretty interesting against Max Scherzer, expected to make his debut tomorrow. So that roster move wouldn't come until tomorrow. And then the other one we'll watch for is Massey. So we get Renfroe today. Should get at least Waka tomorrow, and the hope was always Massey this weekend. So we'll see about that. I'm not sure exactly on Massey's timeline, but you hope it's soon. His expected return, according to ESPN on Massey, is June 21st, which would have been today, and he's not there because they already made the move, right, for Renfroe. I think they would have made them both at the same time. So we'll watch that. But, getting some horses, getting some pieces back for the Royals, certainly good news.
Yeah, and I think you've got still a little bit of a buffer. Yeah, it'd be great to have all 3 of them ready to go for this weekend. But, if Massey needs a couple more days, if they can get him back in time for the Cleveland series middle of next week, at that point, then you feel okay about it. Not a huge deal to me that you maybe don't have him this weekend potentially. I think if it is kind of the trade-off, like would we rather rush him back and have him play at less than 100% potentially this weekend against the Rangers, or hold him back and get him ready to go for Cleveland? Assuming that that's the case, I would definitely go for the latter.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is it shouldn't matter, right? If you've got to delay it, I think that's a bigger issue than delaying it like a day.
Even a couple of days?
I don't know. What does that tell you, though, with that kind of, like, what does that tell you if you have to
want
wait
him
a couple of
fully
days?
rested and ready to go for Cleveland?
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Like, why would it take a couple? That tells me he's further away. Like, a couple of days, I don't know how much of a difference a couple of days is going to make, because it's back? Right. Like,
yeah. And maybe it's something too. They're on the road and they maybe, not sending him to Dallas, and then he's got to turn around and go back to Kansas City. Maybe he's just going to go to Kansas City and meet them there for the Cleveland series. I
just think it's worth paying attention to that he didn't come today, along with Renfroe. I think it's interesting. And I don't know that we've had a ton of updates. I mean, I've got 14 hours ago in Omaha, he had an at-bat running full speed. I'm just watching this now. Looks fine. He actually legged a single into a double. So, I mean, you'd think he feels fine. He's in Omaha playing.
I'm not sure it's an issue of feeling fine. It makes me wonder, though, like, do you want him from an energy perspective? Would it be better to have him sit this weekend and then meet you back in Kansas City for the homestand against the Indians?
We're not sitting him, though. He's probably going to play in Omaha. He's going to play.
I just think they could. I don't know. Maybe not.
I just think they can use him. Like, they could use him in this series.
Well, sure, they could. I mean, they absolutely could. I'm not too concerned about it. If he's not back by the time the Cleveland series starts, at that
watching
point,
that video I just watched, I'm less concerned too. Yeah. He looks healthy. So we'll see.
Hey, by the way, from a betting perspective, real quick, look this up. The Rangers are one of the worst teams in baseball against the spread this season. They're like 5th worst in Major League Baseball against the spread. Kansas City, on the other hand, they're one of the best. So if you're looking at, trying to put a little bit of scratch on any one of these games this weekend, just know the Rangers this season have not been good against the spread.
Now you're talking about the run line, and so that lends itself even more so to our Singer over hits allowed Royals plus 2.5 to get plus 160 bet over at ESPN Bet. So, all right. We'll see how that plays. I'll put my money where my mouth is. The problem for me with that is I'm a Rangers fan. So, I mean, I guess I'm at that point, like, is it a 1-run game and then I'm safe? I've never bet against the Rangers in my life. So I'm not sure that's the hard part for me. But whatever. Money's money. Money talks. But we'll have it. Those games will be with you here on KFH all weekend long. It's 7:00 tonight. It's 3:00 tomorrow, which the Rangers can do now because they can put a roof on the stadium, and then 1:00 on Sunday. So you get a chance for some day baseball twice. The evening game will be tonight. It should be a lot of fun. Two teams that are trying to get it turned around. A lot of star power in these games, and we'll see what the Royals can do with it. But you'll hear it right here on KFH. It's been a good week. It's Good Friday here on the program. We appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to us. KFH, KFHradio.com, the Odyssey app, watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. We do appreciate that. We're trying to bring everybody the show as much as we can. Share those links out when you see them. Let everybody know. We'll grow the show big and strong. We'll come back and wrap up the week here right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
That's it for us. Good week. Interesting stuff. Chiefs and Royals, again, if you missed it, the governor did sign that star bond deal. So that's official. Balls in the negotiator's court on that, I suppose. We'll get you updated on that next week for sure. Royals, again, all weekend here on KFH. You get them at 7 today, 3 o'clock tomorrow, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Congratulations to whoever our Kenny Chesney winners are. And we will get more opportunities to win prizes. You can win right now. We didn't set this up. So text the keyword T to 20357 TEA 20357 to win some HTO today. We'll get you an opportunity there as well on the way out the door here. For Tommy and Jad, I'm Jacob. We'll see you Monday.